I did research for this. I collected data, okay? I interpreted the data. I had to do a thesis. I have to do a thesis. I'm doing the thesis. But instead I was working on this. You're welcome. Hey everyone, I'm Allie. Welcome to my humble little channel. Today we're going to talk about the Women's Prize for Fiction because the long list, she's coming out. She is coming out. Hopefully either on the day of or the day after I release this video. It really just entirely depends on me. But I thought, why not talk about this? Because it's really exciting. I love book award season. I don't know why the International Booker Prize and the Women's Prize for Fiction is happening at the same time. I feel like they should have at least called each other, you know, organised their calendars a bit properly. I love the Women's Prize. I always find incredible books through the Women's Prize. I always have a really good experience. And today, we're going to talk predictions. I am a sucker for a predictions video. I have watched so many, you will soon find out. And I decided, why not do kind of a survey of Women's Prize for Fiction predictions, right? Because I got really interested to see how the book community, like online, whether that be book bloggers, bookstagrammers, booktubers, how they view the prize and what they consider books that should be eligible, that most likely would be on the women's long list. I just thought it was really interesting because I feel like a lot of these booktubers, bookstagrammers, book bloggers were all quite on the nose in terms of what's happening in the bookish world. Like, we live and breathe books. So I just thought it was really interesting to see what everyone was kind of talking about, what books were being put forward. And I'll have you know, there was 133 individual books that were put forward as possible predictions for this prize for this year. For the long list, these are like all the books. 133, okay? An absolute shitload. But some really freaking fantastic ones. But before we talk about that, what is the Women's Prize? Very short synopsis. The Women's Prize for Fiction is one of the most prestigious literary prizes of the UK, and it's definitely very prestigious. Like, we all wait for Women's Prize season. Well, I know I do. And it's the prize for the best full-length novel written in English by a woman of any nationality. So to be eligible for this prize for this year, you have to have published a novel in the UK in English between the 1st of April 2022 and the 31st of March 2023. So some of these books that the book community collectively decided should be like put on the list, some of these haven't even come out yet. It's very exciting. I collected data, as I said before, and I surveyed and found out the books out of the 26 people that I watched, read, saw, their bookstagram posts, their videos, their blog post. Every time one of these books are mentioned, I either wrote it down or made a note to say, this book has been mentioned 7 times. So that's what I did, and it was actually very fun. So I want to just quickly talk about the wonderful people who I watched. I will have everyone linked down below because it was just, I love this community. It's so much fun. So out of the 26 people, out of the 26 people that, actually no, would that technically be 27? Because one was a collab that I watched. Actually, no. Was there 2 that I watched that were collabs? I don't think I included the second collab. I apologize. I will leave details down below. Okay, so out of those people that I watched, 15 were booktubers, 10 were bookstagrammers, and unfortunately I only had 1 book blogger. I think because I had like a deadline for this video, I feel as though a lot of book bloggers will be posting their predictions now. So if I find any more cool blog posts, I'll leave them linked down below. The description box is going to be chaotic. I wish you luck. So the booktubers I watched were Gem of Books, Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, Charlie Brooks, Savage Reads, Eric Carl Anderson, who was with Anna James, Charlotte Molly, Ben Reads Good, Danny's Book World, Gunpowder, Fiction and Plot, Camilla at Hastier Books, Shelley Swearingen, Rainier Books, Freshly Read Books, and Reading Off My Shelf. In terms of bookstagrammers, I looked at Reading Books Est, Sherry Books Read This Year, Once a Reader, Lost Without a Book, Emily C.M. Eason, Her Stacks, Read Her Like an Open Book, which is an epic handle, must I say, Books with Boo, Bookishcharm, and Kate Read Books, and the book blogger that I read was Bookish. So that's out of the way. Let's talk about the books. Okay, so we're gonna first just talk about the long list, right? So what are the top 16 books according to the book community should be on the long list, right? These are the 16 books that were predicted the most, okay? We're gonna start from the start and then go down to number 16. I feel like if you watched any of these videos, none of this will be a surprise to you. Number 1, as in the one that had the most votes, 20 votes, was Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I love that she's solving kings. Amazing. So Demon Copperhead had 20 votes. This, I think, is influenced a reimagining of David Copperfield. It is set in the southern Appalachia, I think, in the mountains of southern Appalachia, and it's the story of a boy born to a teenaged single mother in a single wide trailer with no assets beyond his dead father's good looks and like his charisma. So it's about the modern perils of foster care, of poverty, of addiction, and of great loss. This book honestly sounds fascinating. I've had this book pitched to me quite a number of times, and every time I just want to read it. But that was number 1. People really think that this book is going to be on the long list, and I believe in the book community. But I also think that Barbara Kingsolver was either shortlisted, longlisted, or has won the Women's Prize for Fiction previously. So a lot of people consider her a shoo-in, which sounds cool. Yep. So number 2, another one that you should not be surprised with, it's The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. So Maggie O'Farrell won the Women's Prize for Fiction for Hamnet, I believe, which I never read. I read a little bit and then I forgot about continuing it. I should have to rectify that. But The Marriage Portrait is a historical fiction novel. It's set in 1550s Florence, Renaissance Florence, which honestly, I'm really excited for this. I really want to read this book. So we have Lucrezia, 3rd daughter of the Grand Duke, is comfortable with her obscure position in the palazzo, but then her older sister dies and the Duke wants a wife. And so she's thrust into this world of like corruption and power, and she's just trying to, you know, keep her head above water. Again, I have to say, this book, so many people mentioned, 19 people mentioned. This was constantly like said in tandem with Demon Copperhead. Like these were the main 2 that I think a lot of the book community are quite confident are going to be on the long list. Number 3 with 16 votes is Nightcrawling by Layla Motley. So Layla Motley was this shortlisted for the Booker Prize last year or longlisted? But she was the youngest person to like ever be longlisted for the Booker Prize, which is a huge, it's telling something, right? And just the way that people talk about this book, I feel like this could be a possibility. According to the book community, it definitely is a possibility to be on the long list. So Nightcrawling is about a woman named Kiara and her brother Marcus. So they're scraping by and both have dropped out of high school. Their family has been, you know, fractured by prison and by death. But Kiara is also trying to ensure that this young boy who's her neighbour is being cared for because he's being neglected by his mum. I'm not quite sure. I kept this one vague because I have heard so many glowing reviews, and I feel like the less I know about this book, the better the effect might be. I believe she gets involved. She becomes a witness to like a terrible crime, I believe. So like a key witness, and she has to help, or she's like pulled into this investigation by the Oakland Police Department. So that's number 3. Now coming at number 4 with 14 votes is A Spell of Good Things by Ayobami Adebayo. Now this sounds good. I've actually already put this on hold at my library. I couldn't help it. It just sounds absolutely amazing. Just listen to this, right? It's a story of modern Nigeria and 2 families caught in the riptides of wealth, power, romantic obsession, and political corruption. I'm sold. Are you sold? You better be sold. Like, I'm sold. I honestly hope this book goes onto the Women's Prize long list. Number 5 is, this could be a surprise to some people. I think a lot of people actually put this as their prediction, 13 people specifically, because of the amount of popularity this has had. It's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I don't know why I said Zevin. Zevin. Gabrielle Zevin. Okay. Now, I have also kept this quite vague. It's about 2 friends, so friendship is at the core of this book, which I think maybe the Women's Prize likes to see. They're 2 friends, often in love but never lovers, come together as creative partners in the world of video game design, where success brings them fame, joy, tragedy, duplicity, and ultimately a kind of immortality, which is really interesting, actually. It's like, what do you leave as a legacy once you leave the world as a human? So that's number 5. Number 6 also isn't that much of a surprise, since it won, I'm pretty sure, the National Book Award, which is The Rabbit Hutch by Tess Gunty. This had 12 votes. So The Rabbit Hutch, I have come this close to purchasing The Rabbit Hutch so many times. Literally, I remember last year I picked this book up so many times, even in Italy. I was like, should I? No. Should I? I just had no idea what I wanted to do. But The Rabbit Hutch is set across 1 week, I believe, and it culminates in a shocking act of violence. It is 1 week, I just read my notes. So it chronicles the town on the brink of what? Destruction? Desperation? How far will its residents, especially Blandine, who I'm guessing is the main character, go to achieve it? Does one person's gain always come at another's expense? So it's a gorgeous, provocative tale of loneliness and community, entrapment and freedom. Wow. A lot of people like rave about this book, but if you look at the Goodreads reviews, I believe they're quite low. Not that it has anything to do with the Women's Prize for Fiction, but this sounds honestly like a pretty good contender as well. Now, number 7 is Birnam Wood by Eleanor Catton with 10 votes. Now, this is another one that a lot of people consider might be a shoo-in, because Eleanor Catton either was longlisted, shortlisted, or won the Women's Prize for Fiction for The Illuminaries, which was her previous novel. So Birnam Wood, I think, is slightly different though to The Illuminaries. It's a psychological thriller, and it's a brilliantly constructed consideration of intentions, actions, and consequences. It is an unflinching examination of the human impulse to ensure our own survival. So it's giving me fear, you know, like I'm locked in a cabin. Now, the 8th book on this list that was predicted is one that I personally think is definitely going to be on the long list. Watch me eat my fucking words, but I think that there's been so much talk surrounding this book. Like, this author has been on like morning shows, interviews, there's been like articles written about this book, and it's Mame by Jessica George. I do think that this might be on the long list. I have a feeling, and yes, it's a feeling that I'm having because I desperately want to read it. So Mame is a book that deals with the themes of our time with humour and poignancy. From familial duty and racism to female pleasure, the complexity of love, and the life-saving power of friendship. Bitch, I'm sold. Please. I've got this book on hold at the library because I'm so excited for it. Most importantly, it explores what it feels like to be torn between 2 homes and cultures, and it celebrates finally being able to find where you belong. We have themes of identity, of belongingness, of kind of considerations of the self within the context of like family and race. and culture. And I feel like this is a really strong contender. So, and 9 other people agree with me. With the same amount of votes coming in at number 9, so obviously these two are interchangeable because they have the same amount of votes. It's I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. Now, I had absolutely no idea this book existed. So, according to the synopsis, the narrator unpicks the behaviour of all involved. Involved in what? Herself included, and makes startling connections between the power struggles at the heart of human relationships and those of the wider world, in turn offering a devastating critique of access, social media, patriarchal heteronormative relationships, and our cultural obsession with status and how that status is conveyed. Again, very strong contender. I think a lot of the people who, I felt there were a few booktubers who put this on their prediction list, and a lot of bookstagrammers actually put this on their predictions list, which I think is cool. Now, number 10 is an author that I have a bit of a tumultuous history with, and by that I mean I read one of her books and absolutely fucking hated it, but it's Horse by Geraldine Brooks. Geraldine Brooks is an Aussie-American author. I don't know what book I read of hers. I literally cut it out from my memory because I hated it. Like, it was a book club book. We read it for book club. We trashed that book so hard. We hated the way it was written. The storyline was horrible. Like, it was just not a good book. But yet Geraldine Brooks is like, she's not that she cares. She's out here living her life. She's writing books that have the possibility of being on the Women's Prize for Fiction Longlist, right? But when I see her name, I cringe on the inside. But the cover for this book, if I find the cover that I love, I'll show you, right? It's just a horse. And it's like so beautiful. It's just really mesmerizing. So this is literally based on the true story of a horse named Lexington. And it's a novel of art and science, love and obsession, and our unfinished reckoning with racism. Kept it short, kept it sweet. 8 people thought that this book was definitely one that the Women's Prize for Fiction panel will put on a long list. Maybe because it is Geraldine Brooks, I don't know. Then number 11 comes The Furrows by Namwali Sopal. Now this, I never knew it existed. So happy that through this video, through like the research for this video, I was able to find it. So 8 people also consider this to be a possibility for the long list. Now the Furrows, it's an exploration of memory and loss. Like, how are you supposed to mourn someone who's not technically dead, but they're gone because they're missing? And there are some unexpected twists in the story of like mistaken identity, double consciousness, which sounds interesting, and the wishful and sometimes willful longing for a reunion with those that we've lost. So hope, and how crippling sometimes it can be. I feel like this could be, again, I keep on saying this could be possible contenders. According to the book community, this could be a possible contender, right? Okay. Now number 12, we have Shrines of Gaiety by Kate Atkinson. Has Kate Atkinson been on a long list for the Women's Prize for Fiction before? I should have written this down. I feel like she has. Or maybe she hasn't. But she's quite a prolific author in historical fiction. And Shrines of Gaiety is about a country, I think it's the UK, yep, London, still recovering from the Great War. And in Soho clubs, peers of the realm rub shoulders with starlets, foreign dignitaries and gangsters. So there, our main character, Nellie, is a ruthless ruler, ambitious for her 6 children. Niven is the eldest, his enigmatic character forged in the harsh Somme. But success breeds enemies. Nellie faces threats from without and within. Beneath the gaiety lies a dark underbelly. So we're talking the dirty underbelly, the underbelly of Britain at that time. Every time I say underbelly, I think of the Australian TV show. Anyway, number 13 with, again, 8 votes is Trespassers by Louise Kennedy. So this is set in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, which I don't actually know what that is because I don't know much about Irish history, I apologise. But we have this woman named Kushla. She lives a quiet life with her mother in a small town near Belfast. By day, she teaches at a parochial school. At night, she fills in at her family's pub. There she meets Michael Agnew, a barrister who's made a name for himself defending IRA members. Against her better judgment, Michael is not only a Protestant, but older and married. The scandal, kushla. But she gets drawn in by him, by his sophistication, by his charm, starts an affair. Then the father of a student at her school is savagely beaten, setting in motion a chain reaction that will threaten everything and everyone that she wants to protect. So the way that people talk about this book truly sold me. I've never read Louise Kennedy before. I don't know if she's been longlisted before either. Perhaps she has. This sounds incredible. It really does. An exploration of love, of family, maybe of religion, of power, themes that I feel like are quite common across the board here. And then coming in at number 14, we have Lucy by the Sea by Elizabeth Strout with 8 votes. Now, Lucy by the Sea was shortlisted for the Booker Prize last year. I read this book. I think I gave it 3 or 3.5 stars. It was fine. I am just not an Elizabeth Strout kind of gal, but again, I feel like I might need to try more of her stuff. Lucy by the Sea is about a woman just kind of exploring her ex-husband. Like, it's a character study of her ex-husband but from her perspective, that was quite interesting. It also is a slight reflection on class and kind of the day-to-day meditations of like a middle-aged woman, I believe, and her relationship with her ex-husband. So it was interesting, just like not my kind of vibe. But again, like we have Night Crawling, that was also shortlisted for the Booker Prize last year. A possibility for this year's longlist for the Women's Prize. And then number 15 and number 16 are interchangeable with 2 others because 4 books had the exact same votes. So Fight Night by Miriam Taves. I'm saying Taves because she's Canadian, and there's a Canadian hockey player whose last name is Taves and he pronounces it Taves and not Toes. I'm most likely wrong. Tell me in the comments. Nicely though, I'm sensitive. So Fight Night by Miriam Taves, I've also put on hold at my library. I've been finding so many incredible books doing this video. So Fight Night is told in the voice of Swiv, a 9-year-old living in Toronto with her pregnant mother, who is raising Swiv while caring for her own elderly, frail, yet extraordinarily lively mother. When Swiv is expelled from school, Grandma takes on the role of teacher and gives her the task of writing to Swiv's absent father about life in the household during the last trimester of the pregnancy. In turn, Swiv gives Grandma an assignment to write a letter to Gord, her unborn grandchild and Swiv's soon-to-be brother and sister. You're a small thing, Grandma writes to Gord, and you must learn to fight. Truly, just that, kind of hit my heart a little bit, not gonna lie. Miriam Taves, Miriam Toes, I believe, is quite a well-known author. The problem with this is it was published in 2021 in Canada. I don't think it was published until 2022 in the UK. So this one is a bit of a, I think technically it's eligible, but 8 people seem to think that it's eligible. And then another one, number 16, I put Best of Friends by Camilla Shamsi. Now this is about friendship. It's about 2 women had a lifelong friendship. I think something happened and they come back together, or these 2 best friends who have been best friends for literally their entire lives, something happens, and is that the breaking point? Either one of those. I think it's the latter. I've already also put this book on hold. Can you tell a theme, right? Camilla Shamsi, I didn't realize people love her. Love her. Well, according to my library, 100 other people are waiting for this book as well. So, fully loved. And then the other 2 books that you could interchange these last 2 positions of like 15 and 16 because they had the same votes was Babel by R.F. Kuang and Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Gamis? I just didn't know like where to put what. So, but yeah, A lot of people, I think Lessons in Chemistry is quite similar to Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow in the sense that there's been a lot of popularity, like mainstream popularity. I see Lessons in Chemistry absolutely everywhere. And Babel, I really would love if Babel. Is there ever like a proper like a fantasy novel ever been on the shortlist, or long list I should say? Anyway, they're the top books according to the online book community that could be on the long list. they're the predictions of the community, which I think is awesome. But I wanted to talk about the others that didn't have as many votes to like be on the top 16 or 18 I should say, but still had votes, right? And I'm going to mention them all, even the ones that only got one vote, because I found some really awesome books. I'm not going to talk about synopsis or anything. I'm just going to tell you the books and maybe like have a little photo up here just so that they're on your radar. And honestly, these could be also, you never know what's on the long list, right? We can't tell the future. We don't know. So the books that had 6 votes was River Sing Me Home by Eleanor Shearer, Joan by Catherine J. Chen, Really Good Actually by Monica Heisey, and Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. The books that had 5 votes was The Book of Goose by Yi-Yun Lee, Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, which is the author that wrote Station 11, Briefly A Delicious Life by Nell Stevens, which sounds absolutely incredible and I will be reading soon, Vladimir by Julia May Jones, which was a surprise. I'm not gonna lie, that was a really big surprise to me. The Candy House by Jennifer Egan, which is not a surprise because the Candy House has gotten so like many critical reviews in terms of like critical acclaim. Like a lot of people love this book, and I have to say, when it first came out, I was really tempted to buy it only because the cover was really pretty. So books that received 4 votes was Electra by Jennifer Saint, The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka, Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer, and Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. Now, get ready for the ones that had 3 votes because this is a big list. They're Going to Love You by Meg Howry, Ithaca by Claire North, Things They Lost by Okwiri Odio, There Are More Things by Yara Rodriguez Fowler, 4 Treasures of the Sky by Jenny Ting Hui Zhang, Bad Cree by Jessica Johns, Woman Eating by Claire Coda, which I read and I really enjoyed, After Sappho by Selby Wynne Schwartz, which I read for the Booker shortlist or long list. Loved. 5 stars, one of my favorite books of all time. So truly magnificent. The Whalebone Theatre by Joanna Quinn, The Nursery by Sylvia Molnar, How to Not Drown in a Glass of Water by Angie Cruz, which wins Title of the Year, and We All Want Impossible Things by Catherine Newman. A lot of fantastic books. But let's also quickly go over the books that received 2 votes, because again, you never know, right? You never know. So the books that received 2 votes was Darling, The Immortal King Rayo, I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Mackay, I think. The Birdcatcher, Someday Maybe, Sirens and Muses, which I was surprised to see actually. The Dance Tree, Cursed Bread, La Pavona. Can you imagine? I don't think La Pavona has like collective appeal. I feel like that's a very specific book for a very particular niche of people. Don't necessarily know if that is something that the Women's Prize would long list. But anyway, who knows? Either Or, Milk Teeth, Thrust, Remarkably Bright Creatures, Wild Geese, Stone Blind, Mercy Street, Ginger and Me, The Colony, which was shortlisted actually. Anyway, People Person, Wandering Souls, The Night Ship, Dinosaurs, a novel, Sweet, Soft, Plenty Rhythm, Glory by Novala Bulawayo. Oh my god, I love that book so much. And that's it for the 2 votes. Let's just talk about let's just mention the books that were just mentioned once, voted once. So we have Lungfish, we have Ruth and Penn, we have The Devastating Fever, Dazzling, Brutes, The Disenchantment, What a Mother's Love Don't Teach You, Ghost Music, Disorientation, The Things We Lost, True Biz, The Force of Such Beauty, The Need, No Hard Feelings, Riambal, Seven Steeples, Cult Classic, Emergency, Berlin, Wayward, Clytemnestra, Take My Hand, Gosharam Park, The Attic, If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English, Kaikei, I'm Sorry You Feel That Way, Wade in the Water, Body Grammar, Nothing Special, Big Swiss, The Latecomer, Sister, Mother, Warrior, The Three Muses, My Nemesis, River Spirit, When I First Held You, Deep Down, The Island of Forgetting, Almost Visible, Our Wives Under the Sea, Foster, All This Could Be Different, To Fill a Yellow House, Drift, Companion Piece by Allie Smith, which you never know, Tomorrow I Become a Woman, Signal Fires, A Tidy Ending, Black Butterflies, Delphi, Memorial, which I think is translated, I don't know if that means it's eligible, We Do What We Want, We Do What We Do in the Dark, sorry, French Braid, Mecca, All That's Left Unsaid, Fellowship Paint, No Land to Light On, 3, The Family Chow, The Properties of Thirst, We Measure the Earth with Our Bodies, Fire Rush, You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, and The Odyssey. They're all the books that were mentioned in my research for this video for a survey of the book community's predictions for the Women's Prize for Fiction Longlist. So I hope you enjoyed that. I am really excited. If I had to make my own longlist prediction, I don't know, because to be honest, I don't have my finger on the pulse as much as other people do, but I feel like I'm persuaded that The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell would definitely be on the long list, as well as Demon Copperhead. I also really want Mame by Jessica George. I feel like that just makes sense with the amount of conversation and discussion I've seen online around that book, especially in kind of the media. Who else would I think? I kind of really want to say Fight Night by Miriam Taves because that just sounds so good. I also would like to say A Spell of Good Things because again, I feel like it could really tick a lot of boxes for the Women's Prize. I kind of want to say The Candy House by Jennifer Egan, maybe. That's a bit of a left field one. I also want to say The Rabbit Hutch. I feel like Night Crawling. I would really like to see Night Crawling on the Women's Prize for Fiction longlist, to be quite honest. I would absolutely love it if Electra was on. Oh my god, if Electra was on the long list for Women's Prize for Fiction, I would cry because I loved that book so much and I love Jennifer Seaton so much. I think The Furrows as well is very compelling. Yeah, I don't know what else. I'm a Fan could be an interesting exploration of the themes of like obsession, which again could be something that the Women's Prize are looking for. A lot of the themes I feel like seem quite in common, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited to see what it actually is, you know? But I really hope that you enjoyed this survey of mine. I really hope that you enjoyed seeing what the book community collectively have put forward in terms of their predictions, because I love the book community and I just love when it's book award season because we're all talking about these books and coming together, and it feels very communal and it's very fun. If you want me to do like a reaction to the Women's Prize for Fiction longlist, let me know. Please follow everyone that I've used for this video. Thank you so much to those people who put up their predictions and inadvertently are a part of this video. Think of it like a giant collab. Thank you so much for watching. Follow everyone, everything's linked down below. Let's get reading. I can't wait for the long list to come out. I'm going to go because I feel like editing this video is going to absolutely kill me. Bye everyone.